Hey everybody, it's Tony with Big T Bariatric, and I'm back at you with another tragic story. Here's another one that also happened in June. This is like the third story I've covered in a row, talking about an obese person who died clearly from their obesity and the resulting challenges that happened because of that. This one is even more interesting because it was an 850-pound woman who died, and that made funeral arrangements for her very, very difficult. And it actually took officials 12 hours to figure out how to get her out of the house that she was in, her parents' house. And they also didn't have a slab for her when it came to storing her body or doing an autopsy or anything else like that. We're going to watch this quick clip from this news station, local news in Fox. I think she was in Wisconsin where this happened, and I did get a request to cover this by one of my subscribers. And then we'll just kind of go through the story and talk about it as it goes through. So let's look at this story.
Dignity in death. The Cudahy mother is sharing her story after her daughter died. She suffered from morbid obesity, and because of her weight, getting her to the proper funeral arrangements was nearly impossible. Christina Van Zels talked with the mother, who says it took nearly a day to get her daughter out of their home.
Yeah, that's something that obese people don't really think about. They're not thinking about, okay, I'm going to die one day because of my obesity, but then how does my family get me out of the house? When you're 700, 850 pounds, and it takes days, you can't fit through a door, much less fit on a gurney or fit into an ambulance or anything else like that. So how do you get yourself out of the house when you're 850 pounds? You're leaving your family, your body behind. You probably haven't left the bed in so long. And so, yeah, you're creating all these extra challenges for your family. And I shared this with Alan Roberts, and he said something very unique. He said the funeral for her alone could easily cost tens of thousands of dollars because of the challenges, right? So we don't even think about that part. We don't think what we're leaving behind for our family to take care of because we're obese.
Beautiful soul, contagious laughter.
Carolyn Alvario's daughter, Cassandra Ortiz, passed away a week ago, but remembering the light she brought to this home got clouded by what happened there after she died.
I don't wish what we're going through. I don't wish that on anybody.
The Milwaukee County Medical Examiner says Ortiz weighed 850 pounds. Alvario says because of her weight, no one had the capacity to handle the case.
There's not a funeral home that would take her.
It took nearly 12 hours to move Ortiz out of the home.
To walk in that room and just keep seeing her there. And it's like, oh my God. When are they going to get my baby out of here? They need to get her out of here.
The owner at Church and Chapel Funeral Home, Ted Larson, wanted to help. The Cudahy Fire and Police Department and Larson's team eventually moved Ortiz.
There were at times 20, 30 people in this house trying to help this family address this situation.
Larson says there isn't a crematory in the Milwaukee metro area large enough. Ortiz had to be transferred to Illinois. But because the fire department was called to a fire, Ortiz remained in that van overnight for safety reasons.
Myself and my colleagues were not capable to take her from our van and to put her onto any type of table that could be large enough to accommodate.
So yeah, just imagine that. You're too big to even fit on a table to go to a funeral home, to be transported. You're left in a truck overnight because they don't have storage space for you. I mean, that's a very difficult situation that you're putting everybody in, much less the cost it takes to do all of that. It took 20 to 30 people who were in their home over 12 hours to take her body out of the home. Like, that's massive. That's massive. And then looking by her mother is pretty large herself. So this was likely a family affair where they were eating themselves all to death. And then all of a sudden their daughter died in the home, right? Like, yeah, part of the blame here is on the parents. Like, what were they doing? What were they doing to enable this woman? They talk about the light of their life and the joy that she brought to them. But come on, you were killing your daughter. You have blood on your hands because you all like to eat together. Very clearly, you guys like to eat. And you were enabling her to this point because you like to eat too. You were enabling her to get to 850 pounds. And not once did you think about the challenges that would result after she died. You probably didn't even think once that if you kept doing that and kept enabling her, kept bringing her food, because an 850-pound woman isn't going to go cook for herself. Let's be honest here. You kept bringing her the food to the point that she ballooned up that big, that now you have to deal with those challenges. Now you have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on funeral arrangements. And how come we're not thinking about this sort of thing? How come we're not thinking about the toll that results from obesity? How is she going to be buried? In a piano box? Like,
Accommodate her.
With her having sat so long in the bed and having sat so long in the van, even if we wanted to, we couldn't do a funeral.
Alvario urges other families to pre-plan arrangements. She wants the state of Wisconsin to have a protocol for situations like her daughter's.
what, it's the state of Wisconsin's fault now? They need to have a protocol when it comes to 850-pound people? Are you kidding me? How come you're upset at the state of Wisconsin for not having a protocol for dealing with this, and instead you are going to share no blame in this, right? Maybe you shouldn't have let your daughter get to be 850 pounds. Maybe she shouldn't have been living in your home if she couldn't take care of herself. Like, at what point were you going to stop her from continuing to live this way? By showing her some tough love and saying, honey, you can't live here if you're going to continue to eat like this. Honey, we need to get you some help. We need to find you a bariatric clinic. We need to do something here. You're 850 pounds. How come they didn't once think about the challenges of what would happen if she died from her obesity, which is clearly what happened? Like, why are you blaming the state of Wisconsin for not being prepared for 850-pound people?
Something's got to be put in place.
So no family has to deal with the challenge during an already difficult time. Christina Van Zelst, Fox 6 News.
Yeah, they talked about she was too big for a funeral. Too big for a funeral. Can you believe that? That's ridiculous. I don't wish what we're going through. I don't wish that on anybody, she said. There's not a funeral home that would take her. You did this to yourself. You did this. You helped enable this. Come on. It took 12 hours to get her daughter out of the home. She said because of her weight, no one had the capacity to handle the case. So now we need to expand funeral homes. We need to make bigger tables and bigger refrigerators and all that stuff to store 850-pound bodies. There were at times 20 to 30 people in my house trying to help this family address the situation. There wasn't a crematory in the Milwaukee metro area large enough, and Ortiz had to be transferred to Illinois. But because the fire department was called to a fire, Ortiz remained in the van for safety reasons. Wow. Alvario urges other families to pre-plan arrangements. So if you have somebody in your life who's 850 pounds, you need to figure something out here, because you need to consider the difficulty it's going to be to get somebody that large out of the house. It's just, look, there's an ad for Ozempic. Man, this is another tragic tale here. This is so difficult to keep covering this, but we need to keep covering it. Like, this is the end result of obesity. This is the end result. You keep playing around with it. You keep ignoring the problem. This is what's going to happen. What you're leaving behind. What you're enabling if you're a parent who is taking care of somebody. It doesn't say how old she is. She doesn't look young, but of course when you're that big, you honestly look older than you are because your body is taking a beating. But she was living at home with her family because she couldn't work. She couldn't go out on her own. Her family was enabling her to death, literally enabling her to death. And then they had to clean up the consequences of their enabling. And then they turn around and they blame the state of Wisconsin for not having proper protocols to take care of this. When it takes 20 to 30 people to take your daughter out of the home and there's no space in the funeral home for her, when are you going to take responsibility for what you did? Probably not. They're probably going to take no responsibility for it. I know there's going to be some people who say, well, you know, the daughter's the one who ate all the food, but I push on this all the time because it is partially the responsibility of the enablers who keep somebody like that in their home and does everything they can for them, pays all the bills for them. Somebody had to buy all that food. Somebody had to cook all that food or order all that food. Somebody had to bring her all of that food. She probably couldn't even get up to use the bathroom. So who is taking care of her to that point and enabling her to that point? And looking by the size of the mom, a lot of that was on them. A lot of that was on them. And so I don't wish that on anybody. I don't wish that on anybody either. But, you know, you're partially responsible for what you did to her. So this is a huge warning. This is another huge warning, another huge red flag about the end result of obesity. Anyways, guys, that's my video. I still have more My 600 Pound Life coming. I'm still working on editing that because it was a 3-hour video when I got done recording it, and a lot of it was some of my mistakes and stuff like that. So I'm cutting some of it down, trying to get it to about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And so I'm still working on that. I'm going to try to get that out as soon as possible. If we keep seeing more stories like this in the news, I'm going to keep covering them because that's the point of this channel, is to get the warning out there about obesity and what it does to people and the challenges that result from that. And so we will keep covering these stories, but we will also keep doing other reactions and stuff like that. So keep watching. Please do me a huge favor and like this video. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done so. I will see you guys next time. I love you. God bless you.